One of the wildest games you will ever see, and somehow, despite outplaying the Rangers and outshooting them badly, the Canucks fall 5-3 at Madison Square. We're going to try to make sense of it all right now on Rink Wide Vancouver. Rink Wide Vancouver Studios on a Saturday afternoon. It was madness in a matinee in Manhattan as the Vancouver Canucks outshoot the New York Rangers 39-12. And you know the story by now. The Canucks go down in flames. 5-3 is the final score. A crazy third period and a result that absolutely delivers another blow to the Vancouver Canucks' slim chances of qualifying for the 2025 Stanley Cup playoffs. It is Rink Wide Vancouver. It's brought to you in part by Bet365. Irf and I are going to break this thing down, and as I said, we'll try our best. A little bit speechless, quite frankly. I've been at this a while and have not seen many games that look like that in a box score and ultimately look like that when it comes to the final result. If you want in, we want to hear from you, and lots to talk about, obviously. Hit us up with a Super Chat. Our charity partner this season, the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. Irfan Ghaffar, we called the third period the other night in St. Louis. A little bit of a roller coaster. That was child's play. That was nothing compared to what we just saw here. Back and forth, trading goals. I don't know. I don't even know how you start to explain. Everybody's been wanting the Vancouver Canucks to shoot the puck. I mean, how many shows have we done this year where the shot total has been so low, and that's been the storyline? And here, a season high for shots on goal, a season low for shots given up, and in the end, it's a 5-3 Ranger win.
Yeah, tough, right? The Canucks outplayed the Rangers in every aspect of the game. They got outscored in the worst part of it. They can't have many more of these efforts, Jeff, where they outplay a team so badly and they come out with no result. And I think right now we look at it in the standings. They're in the results-driven business. We talk about the effort. We're here. We're going to break it down. The effort itself was great, but at the end of it, you didn't get the 2 points that you so desperately need. So the big question for Rick Tocchet and his group, we're going to talk about the injuries and all that, is how do you move forward? How can you put this in where you get pucks past the goaltender? Because clearly it didn't happen tonight.
Single point in St. Louis, no points here. So 0 to start the road trip, 2 down and 4 to go. Day off on Sunday, and then they'll take on the New Jersey Devils on Monday. Canucks stuck on 76 points, and this is just the harsh reality, and I know Canuck fans don't want to hear it, even the most optimistic. Irf, the Canucks get nothing out of Madison Square. By the time they step on the ice in Jersey on Monday afternoon, they could be 5 points behind the St. Louis Blues, who have weekend games at home against Nashville and Chicago. So just consider that again, when you look at the missed opportunity the other night in St. Louis, and yes, it was good that they got a single point, but the Blues ended up getting 2. St. Louis moved in front, and now St. Louis may just be on the super highway to the playoffs here, while the Canucks are sort of pulled over to the side of the road. Elias Pettersson left this game in the third period. So did Niels Höglander. Another heroic effort from Quinn Hughes. All you can ask from a captain trying single-handedly to deliver results for the Vancouver Canucks, but it's such a flawed strategy as well when it's one guy in a team game, and Quinn gives you everything he can. Again, pushing 30 minutes of ice time. But, I mean, how many times did people, and I know you and I here in the studio, in that first period, after that first period, 1-0 Canucks, and just thought they outshot them 11-1. They held the Rangers to one shot in the first period and only had a 1-0 lead, and you just kind of felt like they had to stretch it. They had to find a way to extend it, to give Igor Shesterkin a ton of credit early in the hockey game. He wasn't spectacular.
It was all over the ice.
I think that speaks to, the shot totals are one thing, the quality of chances and who was getting those chances, that's another. But, I mean, this just felt like the most Canuck game possible, where, they bombard the Ranger net, and it's been such a struggle to generate offense for them all season long. And, don't get fooled by the 3 goals that they end up getting at the end of the afternoon. It was when this game was there, hanging in the balance, crunch time, power plays in the second, and started the third on the power play as well. Did nothing with it. And again, you start to take away some of the key offensive players for this Vancouver Hockey Club, and just makes the challenge that much greater.
Well, especially when we looked at it and said that after we sat here and talked about the Winnipeg game and said they had goals in that game where they put the team away. They had chances in this game where they could have put the Rangers in the way. Hell, they outplayed them for 60 minutes in this hockey game, and you only have 1 goal to show for it through the first period, and then even then, continuing on, they just let them hang around. I tweeted the Rangers are ass after the first period because I thought they were. They had 1 shot on net. But the problem is the Vancouver Canucks let them back in the game. They let them hang around. The Rangers didn't have guys that were super game breakers. Artemi Panarin didn't really do anything in this hockey game. Alexis Lafreniere was okay in this hockey game. Mika Zibanejad, okay. You got great goaltending from Shesterkin when he needed to be, and it was their role guys that came to play.
They got beaten by Johnny freaking Brodzinski.
Letting you have it. I was teeing it up for you. I was a nice guy.
Oh, you are a good teammate. And good on Johnny Brodzinski. It's Johnny Brodzinski.
It's true.
But it was that kind of game. I mean, Drew O'Connor, bit of an unlikely scoring scorer for the Canucks. To go to Joshua, I mean, we've been on him here. Like, you're in the lineup. We know the backstory. We don't have to go there, but you're in the lineup on a nightly basis. He opens the scoring on a terrific shift. Like, there was so much to like from the Vancouver Canucks. You wanted them to make it mean something and to stay in this playoff run, and that's the frustration here that just has you pulling out your hair. I mean, the first period, the shots are 11-1. Matt Rempe had the only shot on goal for the New York Rangers. The New York Rangers got a shot on goal 5 minutes and 16 seconds into the hockey game. They went the final 14 minutes and 44 seconds without a shot as the Canucks skated circles around them, and quite literally, Quinn Hughes skated a circle around Matt Rempe. I mean, that's going to live on in infamy. From Rempe's standpoint, not a fair fight. And look, the Canucks did well. I think they tried hard to get Quinn Hughes out there. Every time Matt Rempe stepped over the boards, it's essentially isolating a guy and getting a mismatch. And so, the strategy is sound enough, but that can't be your only strategy.
No, absolutely not. It's great. It looks great. Quinn Hughes is going to make Matt Rempe. He's going to make you and I. He's going to make majority of people on this earth look like absolute pylons on the ice. That's what Quinn Hughes does. He is that good. He is that level of talent. But if that's your strategy to try and generate offense, there needs to be something else. Like, we sit here and talk about it. Yeah, Quinn Hughes is this team. In games you need to win. Elias Pettersson, I know, is hurt. Niels Höglander, I know, is hurt. Jake DeBrusk, quiet. I know he had a lot of shots on net. Brock Besser, yeah, he did score the goal late, but where's the more in the hockey game? The Rangers role guys are doing it. You mentioned Brodzinski, Dakota Joshua scored for the Canucks, but you're going to need more. Teddy Blueger, Pius Suter, pretty quiet in this one. Like, I think that, as much as we can sit here and, talk about Quinn Hughes and the 30 minutes that he's going to play every night and how much he means to this team, you got to have someone else in the lineup when you're outplaying a team by so much that means more, just as much as Quinn Hughes.
Well, lots of people in the chat, and J Sweets 917 speaking for everybody here says, Igor made the difficult saves, Lankinen didn't. Simple as that, out-goalied. And I would agree. I mean, we can talk about Quinn Hughes, we can talk about Matt Rempe, we can talk about injuries, JT Miller and Elias Pettersson, the hype there and the fireworks that never really came to be. I guess it's safe to say the Millers beat the Petterssons on this afternoon. And Keandre, an eventful third period for him. He scores to put the Rangers in front a minute and 18 after Drew O'Connor had scored, but then just gets walked behind the net by Brock Besser. Like, just brutal defense. Good on Brock for walking out in front, and Brock is now caught up to Jake DeBrusk. They're tied for the team lead, so down the stretch they come with 12 to go. A goal-scoring derby, I suppose, for the Vancouver Canucks, but that's an afterthought. Goaltending, and look, I look at the goals themselves, and I don't know that there's one that I think was just absolutely moldy, but the numbers are what the numbers are, and Kevin Lankinen gives up 4 on 11 shots, and then JT Miller seals the deal into an empty net. And look, JT Miller hadn't scored in forever, so he breaks a 9-game drought there. He ends up with a goal and a primary assist. Good on JT Miller. That's what the Rangers went out to get him for. They creep a little closer to Montreal in the Eastern Conference playoff race, and as we said, the Canucks stuck here spinning their wheels now. The Canucks are 32, 26, and 12 in the season, so they remain at 76 points, and now all they can do is sit and watch as the Calgary Flames play the New York Islanders, and then later on it is the St. Louis Blues at home to the Chicago Blackhawks. Utah also in the mix there as well. And the road record, Irv. The Canucks are 17, 13, and 5. Like, on paper, 17, 13, and 5 looks all right. Canucks have now gone 10 without a regulation win on the road. And they just need all the points they can get, so they don't really care whether they're regulation or not. But where we used to pump this team up, that look out, the Road Warriors, well, we know that road trip out of the Four Nations break didn't go their way.
Nope.
And so they're 3-6-1 now in their last 10 on the road, and the 3 wins, overtime on a penalty shot in San Jose, overtime in Los Angeles on Connor Garland's goal, and then a shootout win in Calgary. And so, why does it matter that they don't get regulation wins? Well, the same thing as the other night in St. Louis. Like, it's who you're giving up points to as well. Like a shootout win against Calgary, yeah, you got 2, but you gave up 1 to the Flames. That's why you need to find ways to start leaving the building with 2 points and not giving up anything to your opponents. And so, yeah, just so frustrating. The quick strike offense, the Canucks down these players that we talked about, and they did well to tie the game at 2-2 a minute 18 seconds later. It's the Rangers who score. Brock Besser, when you thought, does this team have anything left? Besser ties it at 3, and you're thinking, okay, here's Brock doing it again late in the third period, get it to overtime. 37 seconds after that one off the rush, it was Brodzinski with his second, not just of the game, but of the period. 9 on the season now, and when you look at all the players at the outset of this game, didn't have Johnny Brodzinski on my bingo card as the guy that was going to turn this thing in the Rangers' favor. And while we're talking about him, and I do want to get to a couple super chats here in a sec, but we're talking about Johnny Brodzinski. Let's get to the 3 stars, a presentation of Greta Bar YVR. And our list of 3 stars changed. And
that third period, we were the stars deciding who the stars were.
Jacob working hard behind the scenes, trying to get the graphic package up and running. But the 3 stars in this hockey game at the final buzzer, we did settle on 3 stars, and there they are. Well, that's what Johnny Brodzinski looks like. I wouldn't know. Honestly, I don't know much about the guy, but good on him. Carving out a career in the National Hockey League. Comes up big for the New York Rangers with 2, including the game winner. And there's Quinn Hughes. We could spend every episode of Rink Wide talking about the Canucks captain. The primary assist, the dangle on Rempe, 9 shots on goal, but it goes way deeper than that. 15 attempts. He had that coast-to-coast chance in the third period where he started behind his own net, worked up the right side, cut in, and one of his 9 shots on goal there. So 9 shots on 15 attempts, but we're right back in the same boat. 28 minutes and 25 seconds for Quinn Hughes. Again, it's not a strategy. You reach a point where you get diminishing returns, and he was heroic in his effort, and he's going to try to do everything he can for this hockey club, but what would Quinn Hughes look like if you only had to play him 25 minutes? Like, maybe he's fresher on all of those shifts that he can make something else happen. Almost 10 minutes again in the third period. So Quinn Hughes is the second star. Alex Lafreniere, he ends up with, I had him at 3 assists. Did they take one of them away from him?
Let me find it here.
2 assists on the afternoon. So Lafreniere with 2 assists. But part of this Ranger attack that ultimately gets the job done. And so we've got Alex Lafreniere, 2 assists, 3 hits. And obviously, honorable mention goes to Igor Shesterkin. I mean, the guy makes 36 saves on 39 Canuck chances, especially when that game was hanging in the balance. So probably could have swapped out at the end. Again, we went back and forth so many times, but when Shesterkin gave up the third, we thought, I'm not so sure that we're getting a goalie among our stars. So Brodzinski, Hughes, and Lafreniere, the 3 stars, brought to you by Greta Bar YVR. And we've got another Canucks Army viewing party coming up in April, so you're going to want to make note of that. It's the road game when the Canucks are in Denver the 10th of April against the Colorado Avalanche. So, yeah, make note and make plans to join us for another Canucks Army watch party, and you can experience Greta for yourself, all the big screens. We always say there's not a bad seat in the house, all kinds of arcade games. You order off that terrific new street food menu, weekly drink specials. Greta Bar, the place to be, 50 West Cordova, Greta Bar. Let the games begin. All right, to the Super Chats we go.
Yes.
Tyler, Lank needs to make a save, especially on the 4th goal. That was the Brodzinski one off the rush. Yeah, I mean, if I look in, back to Rick Tocchet in moments, right? And by the way, the Flames have opened the scoring on Long Island on their first shot of the game. All right, Spatzilli, feels like post-Bertuzzi hit era, our core has been shaken, atmosphere is dark, need to refresh this offseason. I'm not sure that I'm going to make that comparison, but the feels aren't here, obviously. A year removed from 50 wins and 109 points, so appreciate the super chat, but I think we'll leave the post-Bertuzzi era out of it for discussion here. The save percentage has got to be up there for one of the worst for a goalie who has played the whole game. That comes from Crazy123. I'm going to put that on the back burner because when we get to the stat that stands out, it sort of plays into that. And we will get there, but do want to talk, and we don't know yet. We'll wait for Rick Tocchet and see if there's any update whatsoever. 2 games into the 6-game road trip, Elias Pettersson left in the second period, came back, barely played, and then wasn't there on the bench to start the third period, as if that wasn't troubling enough for the Vancouver Canucks. Niels Höglander, who's probably been their best forward, most consistent over the last month since the Four Nations break, and I don't know what happened. I had no idea. He had the big hit early on, was it Will Borgen?
Yeah.
Cut him open. Aggressive first shift, though, setting the tone there, but Niels Höglander left this hockey game as well. So Canucks are, they go to the third period in a 1-1 tie, long way from home, and 2/3 of your top line now taken out of the hockey game. So there are just so many red flags around this group as time ticks away with 12 games remaining in the regular season, an uphill climb for the playoffs, and if they have to try to push on here without either one or both of EP40 and Niels Höglander, he'll just get that much deeper.
Oh, absolutely. And look, there's a lot of people piling on Kevin Lankin, and I agree. You mentioned the moment needs to make that save on the 4th goal. Can't really fault them for the other 3 that went in. I mean, look, it was the chance in front all alone, short-handed. Where's the defense coming back on that one? JT Miller finds a wide open player there. And the other 2 were deflections, right? Adam Fox with deflection, and the one that goes off Quinn Hughes' skate and in. So I get it. You're going to want him to make big saves in key moments, but the one is the only one that matters. And unfortunately, that's the one where you wanted him to have. But you can't entirely put this one on Kevin Lankin. And I think that there's enough from the Canucks offense to look with registering over 30 shots on net to not put another one early on in this game in a nail in a coffin goal, as I like to call it. But I asked people on socials as well about, what they liked and what they didn't like. Like 3 goals, hate 5 goals they allowed. The most hate from Pig Dom was the game of hockey. Someone says, love the effort, hated injuries, don't care about the result. We won games this year when we were the worst team, thanks to Lankinen. Just need to trust the process. Problem with that is, what is the process and what's the finish line they're trying to get to? Like, they've made it clear from the top down that, okay, we're going to be a playoff team. This is our push right now. This effort was playoff effort, but they don't have that another gear to get a goal. And I think that's the part when you look at this team from the outset is they just have a problem scoring goals. And then it's been like that for so long, Jeff.
Well, and a couple of things. So, 3 the other night, got them to overtime, got them a single point. 3 here on the road should be enough. Again, they didn't get enough saves in this one. But, for the people that say, Rick Tocchet, dump and chase, boring hockey, well, this third period, I think, is a prime example that when things open up against the Vancouver Canucks, they don't have enough firepower to match, and some questionable defensive plays and ultimately pucks wind up in the back of the net. So, do you want them to open it up and try and trade chances and get into the track meet? I mean, we saw that in the third period the other day against St. Louis. They came out on the short end of that hockey game. Third period turns into a track meet here, and they end up losing and get nothing. So, their identity is trying to lock it down, and yet there wasn't much locking going on in the third period of this one. I just want to bring it back to goaltending for a sec, Irv, because I think, and look, it's easy to say after a third period like that in a game like that, but this was Kevin Lankinen's 10th start in the last 11 hockey games.
Yep.
Thatcher Demko left the game against the Toronto Maple Leafs 6 weeks ago today. What looked like a precautionary measure, taking himself out of the game midway through the first period against the Leafs, has turned into a 6-week injury. And again, when we talk about strategies and philosophies, they're dressing a backup goaltender, who turned 24, by the way. Happy birthday to Artur Silovs. But they're dressing a backup goaltender that they have no faith or trust in, clearly. And so you keep running this guy out and ultimately into the ground. And we have seen this earlier in November, where I think Lankinen started 12 of 14 at one stretch, and you saw a noticeable dip in his play. You keep running him out there. He's been terrific. If it wasn't for Quinn Hughes, he's probably in the discussion of team MVP. But when you play a goaltender as much as they have played Kevin Lankinen over these last 3 or 4 weeks, you're playing with fire, because there's going to be that one game where his performance drops off. And I think you saw it to unfold at Madison Square. And so, I'm not really knocking Lankinen. I mean, yes, in the moment, he wasn't good enough, but there are factors and reasons why. And so Thatcher Demko's on this trip. Lankinen clearly needs a break, and yet I don't know. I don't know how close Demko is. He's skating again, and all that looks promising, but they're not going to practice much on this road trip. My sense is that Lankinen probably starts again on Monday in New Jersey. Make it 11 out of 12.
Yeah.
But, they're sort of the authors of their own demise. This is pro sports. Like, you have to have a backup goaltender that you have some trust and faith in. And just dressing Silovs on a nightly basis to be the backup, it's not working for the Vancouver Canucks. And so, there are reasons behind Lankinen's performance, and I think overworking this guy and taxing him too much eventually caught up with the Vancouver Canucks in a crucial game. Like, they've done this to Demko in the past, and now Demko's on the sidelines, and now they're doing it to Kevin Lankinen.
Yeah, because again, the process is they want to be a playoff team, and right now Kevin Lankinen's your guy, because you can't really go to the guy in behind. They said on the broadcast, they were showing Silovs, and all they really had to say about him was, okay, well, he got 2 wins against Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get it. They're NHL victories, but those teams aren't that great. JT Miller was quoted after the game kind of saying, it was a mixed bag, probably outplayed us for most of the game today, but we stuck with it. I thought our best period was the third period. You definitely don't want to give up that many after the lead. 3 times? We'll take the points this time of year, though. So JT obviously admitting that his team wasn't good enough. The Canucks took it to them, which they absolutely did. But in the end, it's the goals that matter. And we can sit here and talk about processes, Jeff, and talk about efforts and talk about all sorts of things that look so good, missed chances and attempts and scoring chances. But in the end, we're in the results-driven business, and the Canucks have said that they want to be a playoff team, and they aren't getting results.
Bottom line, baby.
Yep.
Did you win?
Nope.
No. No, you didn't. Rick Tocchet after the game didn't have an update on either Elias Pettersson or Nils Höglander, but speculated the Canucks will probably have to recall a center. Abbotsford's in Manitoba, so they're a little closer to New York, but you'd think it's Aatu Räty. He leads Abbotsford. We've talked about him and his face-offs in the past. And this is on a day, and this kind of gets lost in this as well, where, both you and I have said, like, Nils Åman tries hard, bit of a tweener. Does he have to be a regular in this lineup? He does right now because of the position he plays. He had 2 assists. When you get unexpected offense from a guy like Nils Åman, you want to believe that that's going to contribute to a victory. It did not, and so disappointment on just so many levels. But yeah, it sounds like the Canucks are going to have to dip into the farm, and we'll see if it is in fact Aatu Räty. I guess Max Sasson has been another guy that has been up here and plays that position as well. So we'll see where it goes.
And then Räty or Sasson de facto is now your second center after Pius Suter.
Pretty much. You can bump guys up to a point.
If they don't play, if Pettersson doesn't play, yeah.
But if Pettersson doesn't play, now Pius Suter's your top center. Filip Chytil out of the lineup, obviously. But Teddy Bluger can't play any higher in the lineup. Like,
No.
he can't.
Yeah.
He had a couple of shots in the first period, and it's like this double-edged sword. Like, decent looks, but it's Teddy Bluger, and it's unlikely that he's going to beat NHL goaltending cleanly. His penalty killing has been terrific, and there's a role for him on the hockey club. But, you're going to have to bring somebody in and plug them in higher in this lineup than Teddy Bluger shuffling up. All right. Kiefer Sherwood, an active afternoon.
Yes. Active first.
Sets an NHL record. Kiefer Sherwood with an early hit on old teammate Carson Soucy. That was the record breaker. That was hit number 384 on the season, and he was just getting started. Kiefer Sherwood finishes with 12 hits in this hockey game. It's remarkable how consistent he has been in that facet of the game. And so I commend him. But there are times, and this felt like one of those games where he had the blinders on to finish every hit possible. But there is a puck out there.
Yeah.
And I did not like his back check on what turns out to be the game winner under 5 minutes to play. And he ends up -3 on the afternoon. So not a single shot on goal for Kiefer Sherwood. Shots on all the Rangers. 12 hits, no shots, and on the ice for 3 of the 5 New York goals. So, can you call it a success? I mean, anytime you set an NHL record, I do want to be careful here, and I want to salute the guy. But if we put that, in a silo, in an isolation, the rest of the afternoon, they need more in different ways and different areas from Kiefer Sherwood.
Sometimes 7, 8 hits, 9 hits is great. It helps you win a hockey game. Today, 12 didn't. Help you set a record, which was great. Not a shot on net. And again, not a knock on Kiefer Sherwood. For what he's got, what he's become for the Vancouver Canucks, again, you and I talked about it last game. I don't think that we would have sat here and guessed it, that he would be that high up, play that high up the lineup, have the impact that he's done. But now there's people saying that they should extend him to all sorts of deals and things like that. Let's temper it a little bit, right? We're still in the results-driven business. Kiefer Sherwood went out and definitely got his, like you mentioned, blinders on, but not a shot on net. And you're going into a situation where you potentially lose Niels Höglander. He's going to move. Sherwood's going to move up the lineup probably, right? No Elias Pettersson. So you got to have some offense. And in a game where you needed offense, again, none to be found. -3 is also not good enough.
No, and that's why I say, like, the shots on goal, I don't really care that much.
Yeah.
But just attention to details, play away from the puck, defensive responsibilities, those needed to be a little sharper and crisper, and they weren't. So he drew a penalty on Igor Shesterkin. We got to take a moment here, Irf. I know it's a Canucks post game, but at one point, the shots, after 20 minutes, the shots were 11-1. Rempe had the only shot. 10 seconds into the second period, long shot by the Rangers. I can't remember who had it. It might have been Panarin. Massive Bronx cheer. Like, the fans weren't having any of it. And you got to keep in mind that this is a Ranger team that lost. This is a 4-game homestand. They lost to the Oilers. They lost to the Flames. They lost to Toronto the other night. Against Calgary, they only had 13 shots on goal. So paying customers basically watched this performance and this effort a couple of games ago. And here they are, early start on a Saturday, and they have one shot. And when they got the second one, fans blasted the Rangers. And rightly so.
It's New York, baby. You and I have both been in that building and
Yep.
seeing the dark, and even when they're good and not playing well after a period of how wild they can get there.
Well, and how about Dakota Joshua opens the scoring, goes to celebrate against the glass, and just gets the double bird.
I wasn't going to do it.
There's some... It's digital. I think you can.
Get us banned from YouTube. Nope.
Jacob can fuzzify them. But, the New York experience on full display there, without a doubt. But the Shesterkin, I think clearly he was pissed. Like, his team was basically hanging him out to dry. It's a 1-0 hockey game. The Canucks get the power play. Well, first of all, Rempe takes a penalty on Garland. So the first power play goes to the Canucks. Nothing doing. And then Shesterkin gets called for roughing, basically puts Sherwood in a headlock. Like, I'm not sure what he was doing other than sort of venting and airing his frustrations. The Canucks then get another penalty, or the Rangers do. So 11 seconds of 5-on-3. Not saying that was a turning point in this hockey game. but the power plays as a whole. Like the Canucks had 2 full power plays when it was a 1-0 hockey game and did nothing with them. And then they started the third. It's a 1-1 tie, and they start the third on fresh ice with the power play. And again, did nothing with it. So when we look at this hockey game, did they get enough saves? No. Were there enough guys going outside of Quinn Hughes? No. And then the power play. Power play.
They got scored on their power play.
Well, it came right after.
Right
it ultimately
after.
wasn't a shorthanded goal, but it came sort of a good penalty kill to start that third by the Rangers. And then, you're right, Johnny Brodzinski, a minute and 39 seconds, gave the Rangers their first lead of the night. And, as we break down all the goals, look, he's alone in front. It's Hronek and Forbort after the power play. So Quinn Hughes has started the period, gets a rare shift off. They've got Hronek and Forbort. Forbort kind of drifts across the net front. And Dakota Joshua, as the Rangers break in on that goal, at the Canucks blue line, it's 3-on-3. Canucks are in perfect position. They've got men back. And Dakota Joshua swings low and then leaves the front of the net. And then JT Miller finds Brodzinski, bang play there. So breakdowns, there's too many of them, quite frankly, for the Vancouver Canucks at crunch time here in this stretch run. They want to stay in. The Islanders have scored to tie Calgary, so that's 1-1, which won't mean much to people listening on the pod later in the day and on Sunday, but in real time here if you're on the live stream, 1-1 Flames and the New York Islanders. Tyler Gibbs with a super chat. Do the Canucks inquire on Norris again in the offseason? Another contribution there for the BC Mental Health Foundation.
Oh, they're not. They're not going to. Sorry, they're not going to. They need a scoring winger. I don't think Besser's staying, so that's what they need.
Yeah,
they're going to overpay for someone. They also need a center.
They need help, and again,
the Canucks don't have the assets to acquire Norris. Otherwise, he would be a Canuck. I think that's ultimately what it was. Even at the deadline, they called and inquired. They didn't have what it took, and you think Buffalo's not going to want more to get a guy like Josh Norris? I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Canucks are going to have to look elsewhere and get creative for it. But, as much as it is now, you look at other guys. Someone said Alex Tuck, and everyone's naming big centermen and big physical guys that can play the puck down the middle. They had one. They traded him.
Yeah, and so they've got a first-rounder. They've got some guys that have made progress, obviously, in their system. But we all know, the names keep coming up, whether it's Willander, whether it's DPD. I thought another solid game for Mancini, getting back in against his former team, ends up picking up an assist. Nice play to carry the puck down low around the net on the Drew O'Connor goal. The more I see Mancini, the more I think that there is a player there. But if you're going to get, you got to be willing to give. And that's just and we're talking about acquiring elite level players. They come at a cost. And so, whether you go way out of left field, and we saw St. Louis poach offer sheets, but you got to have the right draft capital. You got to have your own draft picks, obviously, in line there. But either way, whether it's a trade, whether it's offer sheet, you're looking at peddling first-round picks, in some cases, maybe multiples. So it's going to be a challenge. Saw Patrick Alvin with Dan Murphy in the intermission. Really, I think it was done because it was Hockey Day in Sweden. Wasn't a whole lot there. I thought maybe we might get an update on Philip Hedl or maybe an update on Thatcher Demko. Wasn't the case. We should mention as well, because this is something I was charting when JT Miller was still a Canuck.
Yep.
And when he got traded, and I said, well, there you go. Wasn't a single game this season where Elias Pettersson, JT Miller, and Brock Besser all scored in the same game. And somebody on social was like, wait a sec, they still play one more time. It could happen they all score in the same game. Well, Brock scored, JT into an empty net. No PD, no offense from Elias Pettersson, and so there you go. Wasn't a game this year in which all three of them scored. This means absolutely nothing, but it's in my notes. It's the third time this year that JT Miller and Brock Besser scored in the same game, opening night against Calgary, and then in Chicago. First time since October 22nd, and obviously the last time because JT doesn't play here anymore. All right, let's get to our stat that stands out. We referenced it a little earlier on. It's brought to you by Resurrection Spirits. And we were charting this as this game went along. I mean, what is the Canucks franchise record for the fewest shots surrendered? Rangers finished with 12. 1 in the first, 5 in the second, 6 in the third. So that gets them to 12. Canucks franchise record, you got to go way back. Held the Minnesota North Stars to 10 shots in a 4-1 win at the Coliseum back in 19 1975. So the Canucks have never held an opponent to single digits. And on one occasion, 10 was the number, and it still remains the record. But, man, this was in conversation. This was right there. Canucks outshoot the Rangers by a score of 39-12. All right, stat that stands out, brought to you by Resurrection Spirits out in East Vancouver. They offer a full range of small batch distilled spirits from rye to gin to vodka, and even a ready-to-pour old-fashioned. The spirits are crafted using BC ingredients, so you're doing your part and you're supporting local, which is terrific. They've partnered with our friends to come up with a Sakaris Price gin, and they've got a deal for you, $5 off if you use code S and P. S and the little and symbol P. Check it out, resurrectionspirits.ca. You can find out about the S&P gin there. You can look at their entire product line, a little bit more about the company, and that S&P gin, a limited run, so get it while you can, because once the bottles are gone, they are gone. All right, as we start to drill down a little bit deeper on some of the individuals in this hockey game, we've talked about some of the key performers. Jonathan Lekarmaki draws back in.
Yep.
Was out there on the first unit power play, and doesn't get an assist, but plays a prominent role in the opening goal. I thought did a nice job shielding the puck in the neutral zone.
Great job.
And a controlled entry where, I mean, every night people in the, dump and chase, chip and chase. Hey, John Lekarmaki, a skilled guy, is able to hold on to that puck as he gets it across the blue line and then plays it to the interior. Joshua had a pretty good scoring chance. Shesterkin made a stop there, but the Canucks stayed with the puck. Ultimately, it's Hughes at the point, Danson, and then the rebound off the post, and Joshua bangs it home for his 5th of the season. But this started out talking about Jonathan Lekarmaki. So back in the lineup in place of Linus Karlsson, 14 minutes and 32 seconds of ice time because forwards were falling by the wayside. Just the one shot on goal. But again, I thought there were some moments. There is definitely some poise with the puck that I want to see more of.
Poise with the puck is an important thing because the Canucks don't have a lot of guys on their roster that can currently do that and be able to have the confidence to keep the puck on their stick. My only knock with him is he's got to put on some muscle.
Yeah,
I think that's it. And I think that's evident. I think they know that. I think he knows that. You can dominate in the AHL and be a super skilled guy and dance around guys, but you're not doing it here at the NHL level. And I think that's the biggest thing for him this offseason. He's got to put on some weight, got to put on some some muscle, do what Elias Pettersson did that one year where, he was super, tiny and then he came back jacked and everyone was happy. So Lekarmaki's got to do that this offseason. And I think he's going to turn himself into an everyday NHL player here at some point because I think his top end skill is that. It's just about being able to hang with the big boys.
So there was that from Lekarmaki. We talked about Nils Åman. Look, credit where it's due here. We ragged on Pius Suter the other day in the faceoff circle. He was brutal in St. Louis. Lost that one draw that led to the tying goal. I don't know if he took that to heart, but this was a totally different Pius Suter in an elevated role. Ends up playing 20 minutes and 19 seconds. It wasn't dangerous as I looked through my notes on a day when a bunch of goals were scored. But again, they put him in these situations. We talked about the fact that Panarin wasn't terribly prominent. Zabinajad, some of that's Pius Suter doing his part responsibly defensively. But how about this in the faceoff circle? 14-6. So good for him. It's in there. He can win draws at the NHL level. So I did want to make sure that we pointed that out. Canucks end up winning the faceoffs against a good team. Rangers are one of the best faceoff teams in the National Hockey League. The Canucks won 30 of the 55 draws in this hockey game. So
JT got smoked in the faceoff circle, I think.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
3 and 10. So just 3 of 13. I haven't looked at the head-to-head matchups, but just based on those numbers, I'm guessing that Pius Suter probably did okay against JT Miller. And it was kind of funny. The Canucks set the opening roster lineup for the start of the hockey game, and for all the buildup about EP40 and JT Miller, I kind of thought maybe we'd get the two of them in the circle at center ice to start this hockey game. It was Pius Suter in his line. Suter took the face-off, and Miller was out there, but I think Zibanejad actually took the opening face-off. So crisis averted, drama averted, none of that. Rick Tocchet wasn't having any, wasn't playing into the storylines to get this hockey game going. And now Rick Tocchet's got all sorts of things on his hands here again if the Canucks are without one or both of Elias Pettersson and Nils Höglander. I just want to take a sec here, Irf, to sort of go back and revisit the first period because it was wild. By the numbers, the Canucks had a 1-0 lead. They outshot the Rangers 11-1. The attempts, and all of it was played at 5-on-5, no penalties in the first period. The attempts were 24-8. The scoring chances, 13-3. And the high dangers were 8-1. And so, yes, the Rangers won this hockey game in the third period, but I do think, and we touched on it, you could make a pretty strong argument that the Canucks lost this game back in the first.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The chances for them to score were there. They were all over. Ice was tilted from as soon as the puck dropped. The Rangers had no business being in that hockey game. One shot on net. Their goalie kept them in it when they had to. But again, find another gear. The Canucks can't seem to do that in a game where they dominated.
So, speaking of domination, and look, we talked about him he was the second star of this game, as he is most nights when the Vancouver Canucks take to the ice. I just want to go back, though, and look at Quinn Hughes' first period and the impact that he had on the hockey game as well. And this is this sort of disconnect. When Quinn is doing these sorts of things, how can it not mean more to the Vancouver Canucks? So he gets the primary assist on the first goal of the hockey game. He plays 8 minutes and 51 seconds. Oh, the assist, by the way, his 400th point in the National Hockey League. So nice big round milestone for Quinn Hughes. He's now within 9 of Alex Edler for the franchise all-time record for points by a defenseman. And with 12 games to go and the rate at which he scores, pretty good chance that it'll get there before the end of the season. Shot attempts were 15-3 with Quinn Hughes on the ice in the first period. The actual shots were 6-0. The scoring chances were 9-1, and the high dangers were 7-0. We always talk about how he plays in the West, the lazy people that have votes for the Norris. They can't stay up, they can't watch. Well, then he goes to one of the biggest stages in hockey and puts on a show like this, and then it was an afternoon game. People are busy. They weren't watching. There's no excuse. I think by now, he won the Norris last year. I think people recognize. But these are the kinds of periods that we see on the regular from Quinn Hughes, that if there are people out there that doubt him, that first period to me was as dialed as we have maybe seen him all season. And again, it's just such a shame that it didn't amount to more offensively for the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, just the second player from his draft year to get to 400 points. Brady Tkachuk, the other one. And again, just laughing at where he fell to for the Vancouver Canucks, where he was able for them to be picked at number 7 overall. But yeah, I think that there's too many nights where we see that, Jeff. You mentioned people, out of town, the people in the East that don't really watch the Vancouver Canucks, that stay up late. We're spoiled with how good of a hockey player he is. Sometimes there's teammates get caught watching too.
Yep.
Right? And I think that there is a little bit of that. And, they just sit back and watch and marvel at his glory, that end-to-end rush. They said on the broadcast, Bobby Orr-esque and things like that. They need another one. Somebody grab onto whatever Quinn Hughes is doing, latch on and go there and go into the fight with him, because you're going to get that. You don't think you're going to get that type of performance on Monday against one of his brothers? With his other brother watching? Oh, you can bet it's a 30-minute night for Quinn Hughes. It's 10 shots. It's everything like that again. But someone else needs to grab onto that and go along for the ride with Quinn Hughes.
Elias Pettersson only plays 7 minutes and 50 seconds, so his point streak comes to an end at 6. Not going to judge him necessarily on his performance, although, for all the shots by the Canucks in the first period, Besser and Pettersson, it wasn't a dominant first period for them. And then that's part of the issue here, is once you get down below those types of guys, you're asking an awful lot of others. And, it just underscores the need for more, need for a whole lot more. A little good news, maybe. The Islanders have gone in front of the Calgary Flames. Bo Horvat tied the game, and the Isles have just gone up by a score 2-1. But St. Louis is leading Chicago in an afternoon game as well. So, this is the issue now, that even though the Canucks will have games in hand when the weekend is done, the St. Louis Blues, with a soft schedule, and we've been talking about that for a while now, they can move 5 in front of the Vancouver Canucks if they take care of business in both of these games on home ice, and 5 points, a 5-point deficit at this stage with a dozen to go. Yes, games in hand, but it just adds so much more pressure to take care of those games in hand. What's coming with the Vancouver Canucks. The road trip ends in Winnipeg. They come off the road. They've still got games against Vegas and Dallas and Colorado. So it's getting dark early for the Vancouver Canucks, but that's why you play the games, and we'll see how things shake down here. This portion of Rink Wide Vancouver, a presentation of the Pacific Toyota dealers who want to tell you about the Toyota BZ4X. It's 100% electric, and it's backed by the peace of mind of knowing that it's a Toyota, the spark of joy you get when you pass a gas station, and hey, you don't have to stop. Everybody else pulling over to fill up the tank. Not so much with a BZ4X. It's packed with the things you want in an SUV, like cargo capacity. You can fit all the kids and all their sporting equipment in there as well. And it can handle any terrain, so it can take you from the city to the slopes or wherever your life takes you. When you choose the BZ4X, you get up to $6,500 in rebates and incentives. And right now, you can finance a 2025 BZ4X from 3.29% APR for 36 months. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. I am curious, as the Canucks go down in numbers here, I think they were supposed to practice on Sunday. I think that was the plan now that they're settled there in the New York area. I don't have to get on a flight, and they haven't had many practices. So I think Rick Tocchet probably would like to get a practice in, especially if you're calling, Ratu or Sasson back up, get them escaped. But at the same time, it's that balance right now of fatigue and attrition and wear and tear, and also the whole Thatcher Demko thing about getting him some practices in case he can be an option for the Vancouver Canucks at some point on this road trip. The Devils on Monday, Islanders on Wednesday, off to Columbus on Friday, and then the trip wraps up. I don't know if you like afternoon hockey, early starts on the West Coast. It's not quite as early next Sunday, but the road trip ends in Winnipeg, noon Pacific, 2 o'clock start local in the Peg. And you know that Winnipeg will be ready for that one after the beatdown that the Canucks put on them at home here earlier in the week.
We have the captain.
He had enough energy to do post-game. I saw
230 worth.
Peter Baugh of The Athletic, who covers the Rangers, says a bunch of Canucks caught up with JT Miller and Carson Soucy post-game, including Hughes, Besser, and Garland. And he notes that both Miller and Soucy had points against their former teams. Yeah, Carson Soucy gets the second assist on the game winner by Johnny Brodzinski, and JT Miller with a goal and an assist. All right, well, let's hear from Quinn Hughes. I would have to imagine that this one stings, but I won't put words in his mouth. Let's hear from the captain himself.
What stopped you guys from grabbing the win in this one?
I mean, kind of similar. Third period we had last game, so no excuse why that one didn't get to overtime.
In that first period, you guys only allowing one shot on Kevin Lankinen, but what did you see defensively from your group? What did you like?
Yeah, I mean, in saying what I just said, they had 10 shots or whatnot with like 11 minutes left in the third, so can't really complain too much about how we played. I thought we competed hard, especially with two forwards going down, having to go 10 forwards in the third. I mean, we're playing gutsy right now, and got a lot of guys out, and the third one goes off my skate. It's a lucky bounce, and the fourth one, we'll have to look at that one. But as far as the game, I mean, 9 times out of 10, I think we walk away with that one. So, but in this instance, we don't.
I wanted to ask you about Kiefer Sherwood. He broke the NHL record for hits in a single season. Him putting his body on the line, what does that add to this group?
Really competitive guy. Thankful we have him. Got a lot of compete, a lot of care. So you just got to keep it going.
New Jersey next. What do you need to see from your group in that one?
I'm not going to focus on that right now. Just recuperate, try to get some rest. I think we play 8 and 14 next couple of days, so just going to have to rest.
Is it hard to believe when this game is over that you guys haven't gotten something out of it with the way you played?
Like, yes and no. I mean, I thought we kind of shot ourselves in the foot at the end, which is too bad because we probably played one of our better games we've played all year. And like I said, we got, Petey and Heedle out are 1 and 2, and then Hoggs goes down. We got guys stepping up. We got guys playing with heart, so can't really complain too much about any of that, but it's hockey. Sometimes you're going to lose some that, you probably feel like you should win, but we've been on the other side of that this year as well.
One in your net off your stick last game, off your toe this game. You just shake your head at the luck?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the one off the skate's really, really lucky. He just chucks one in front. I mean, I've done that plenty of times. It's a good play. throw it to the net, you don't know what's going to happen.
Victor Mancini has an assist tonight. What has he kind of brought to this team and the role he's had?
I mean, he's only played 3 games or whatnot, so he's just got to keep going, keep competing, and keep trying to, play his best, and we'll see where that takes him.
Yeah, I don't think, and not a knock on Victor Mancini, but Quinn didn't really feel like he wanted to take questions about some of his depth defensemen at that stage. And I know it's back in New York, and he was a former Ranger, but you can feel it, can't you? Just the frustration there. And, he's not, the other night in St. Louis has the opening goal go off his stick, and we talked about that. Just get your stick out of there. This one, nothing he can do about it, but I guess when you play 30 minutes, your odds go up that pucks are going to bounce off you because you're out there all the time. But I think he can read the room there in the big picture that things are slipping away. And as he said, without their top 2 centers now, that's a big. I was thinking to myself, like, if this thing got to what would their overtime shift? What would their shootout have looked like? No PD, no Höglander, no Hedl. You're getting pretty deep right off the hop there. So overtime, it would have been a struggle for. You would have had Suter and Besser and Garland and DeBrusk, I suppose, but maybe Sherwood gets a shift. But you're running out of guys that would normally play big minutes in overtime for the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, Quinn kind of still catching his breath there a little bit after the
Understandably
game, right?
Every game.
And it's funny, he mentioned 8 in the next 14. I didn't even done the math, though. Obviously, he probably knows, but I think the rest is the number one thing. And you mentioned them maybe having practice and some practice time. I don't think Quinn Hughes is going to be on the ice very much.
No, I would think that we're at a point in the program now where not optional, but certainly maintenance days for key guys, and Quinn is at the top of the list. And, they've got 3 goalies. Like Kevin Lankinen, if he's going to start on Monday in Jersey, leave him at the hotel. He doesn't need to take the ice on Sunday. You got Silovs and you got Thatcher Demko trying to work their way back in here. So we're going to hear from Rick Tocchet momentarily. Before we do, though, this was an early start, and I know usually you look ahead in the National Hockey League and have your eye on games that are coming up. But
lots of games.
There are lots of games today, but Bet365 without the odds for Sunday games just yet. So where's that taking you on your line of the night?
Yeah, I'm going to look late this evening, and I'm going to go with the Seattle Kraken, Jeff, against the Edmonton Oilers. I'm taking the Kraken just because the Oilers, without their top 2 centers, that lineup is not very good looking. I really don't like it. So why not take the Kraken? There's some good plus money there, and also the Boston Bruins, after getting absolutely destroyed, I think are going to come back and with a vengeance and put up a good showing in San Jose. So you take those 2. You get some pretty good odds there, as this portion of the show is brought to you by Bet365. Breaking news coming in. Where every nail-biting overtime win is a barn burner. Face-off, hat-trick, power play, shot on goal. Canucks had a lot of those. Penalty shot and suspenseful minute in between. It's amazing. Whatever the moment, never ordinary at Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. Download the Bet365 app and use code NATION to get in on the game. You must be 19 older. Please play responsibly.
I got some breaking news, too. We got another super chat. This one coming from our guy, Spetzilli, who says, thank you for being yourselves. I enjoy the show more than the games this year. Well,
thank you.
No, I appreciate that a lot.
Yes.
The Winnipeg game was fun. You had to enjoy that. There have been a lot of nights where, it's kind of felt like work to grind out an hour of post-game discussion when the Canucks have been held to a goal and 18 shots. Here they turn the table on the Rangers. Again, season high in shots for, 39, and a season low in shots against, and somehow come out on the wrong end of a 5-3 decision. So Quinn wasn't ready to look ahead to the Jersey game yet. He was still processing this one, but it's unfortunate that Jack is done for the year. So the Hughes brother Bowl is missing a key piece there. And we'll talk more about the Devils here coming up momentarily. Do we have the coach yet? We do? Okay.
Yep.
Well, you heard from Quinn Hughes, a dejected Quinn Hughes. I would imagine that a coach is going to sound much the same here. But let's hear post-game from Rick Tocchet at MSG after a 5-3 loss to the Rangers.
Well, Rick, after coming out to such a strong start, how frustrating to not grab the win?
Well, we lost about 3 guys. Some guys were banged up. I thought we played a hell of a game. Lanks was Like you almost pulled him. He wasn't feeling great himself. So proud of the guys. So we deserve a lot better.
Kiefer Sherwood breaks the NHL record for hits in a single season. What can you say about him and just him putting his body on the line this year?
Yeah, no, he's done a nice job for us. Yep.
Have you ever, as a player or a coach, had the volume of adversity and things that have happened this team?
Well, yeah, I looked at footy when PD couldn't go, and a couple of guys, is anything else going to happen? So, but hey, it's a test for all of us. You know, it's adversity, and it's you got to learn from this stuff, and it makes you better in the long run. So whether it's bad luck or whatever, it's something that you can learn from.
Do you know whether you'll have them next game?
If you had to ask me now, I'd probably be doubtful, but we're going to have to call somebody up to go at one recall up. We're going to have to get a center him up here. But yeah, I mean, saying right now I don't know, but there's a possibility that they won't.
So when you assess what happened on the ice, at the end, is it the chances that you didn't take with all that pressure, or is it the chances you gave up with so little pressure from them?
Well, how many shots? They didn't have many shots. I thought we handled pretty good. Obviously, the couple of rush goals we don't like. Got to protect the guts of the ice. A couple of mistakes from a couple of guys. But, like I said, we play a good game, so I don't want to – you can't single out every single play. I thought we played a good game today. And when you lose your top centerman and Hoggy and then, a couple of guys were banged up, I thought we hung in there pretty good. Proud of the team.
That's it. I mean, you look at some of your chances. I mean, deserve better on some of them, or is it just the goalie playing well? What do you think?
Well, that guy's a world-class goalie. But I thought, we had some good chances. We had the puck a lot. It's one of those games where just didn't have enough. That I think that obviously we got that tire best with a great goal. That's a killer rush. That's an avoidable goal. So like I said, they didn't have many shots tonight.
Yeah. Again, much like Quinn Hughes, you can just feel. Forget the words. Just listening to Rick talk it, you can feel the disappointment, the dejection, pumping his guys for the effort. I don't think anybody's here saying that the effort wasn't there from the Vancouver Canucks, but they lose by a score of 5-3, and I think quite telling. And Rick Tockett's not the only coach this way. Second question to him about Kiefer Sherwood, and
he didn't want to answer.
He didn't want to go there, and I think he probably saw a lot of the same things that we did. That the hits are great, but there's more to individual games, and this wasn't a great afternoon for Kiefer Sherwood, despite finding his way to the NHL record book. Interesting to hear him say Kevin Lankinen almost got pulled, that he wasn't feeling well. And when he says that they'll probably have to call up a center and that he's doubtful.
Which means they are calling up a center.
And that
one of them
Pettersson seems like the more injured of the two. And again, we just don't know what happened to Höglander, but he left the hockey game. So, yeah. And again, we touched on it. I don't want to go too deep here, but I see Thomas in our chat as well saying, hey, if Lankinen wasn't feeling well, why did he start? Really shows that they've got zero confidence in Shilovs. Will play a sick goaltender over him. And yeah, I mean, bang on right there that when every point matters to the Vancouver Canucks, they would prefer to turn to a guy that's not feeling well to try to deliver a result over a healthy backup that they just don't trust.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of been the story this season, right? You got your star goalie goes out, and Lankinen goes on a run, and then you just know that you can't put Shilovs in. Unfortunately, it was his birthday. Probably would have loved to get the start at MSG, and this is where they are. So over the course of the next couple of days here, or day, and then before the game against the Devils, probably IV treatments if he's not feeling well. Lankinen's probably not going to be on the ice if they do practice, nor is Quinn Hughes. You might see one or two players being called up here.
Yeah, they're at a point. They've got one more
call-up.
One more recall, and then you'd have to get into emergency. But I mean, if they need bodies, if they don't have enough, then you go into emergency situation. And we said Abbotsford's in Manitoba. They were winners there last night. I would think Ratu's the guy, but we'll wait to see. Just so we wrap things up here, quick thought on the Devils. Again, would be more fun if it was all the brothers, but Jack won't play. Quinn and Luke will. Devils are at home to Ottawa this afternoon. They're coming off a crushing loss of their own against Calgary the other day. They had a 3-1 lead after 2 and gave up 4 unanswered third-period goals, and this is one of the better defensive teams in the National Hockey League when they're at full strength. But it's not just Jack Hughes. Dougie Hamilton's done for the year. Jonas Siegenthaler also out. The Devils have lost 2 of their last 3, so we'll see what happens against the Sens this afternoon. Nico Hischier having a hell of a season. He leads the team, 29 goals. Jesper Bratt, he's got 80 points, so there are 2 guys that Canucks are certainly going to have to keep an eye on. The way things are going for Jersey with the injured players they've got, they're going to be in the playoffs, but it kind of looks like they're locked into a first-round showdown with Carolina. And will probably finish as the 3rd seed in their division, so they'll have to start on the road there. They've got excellent special teams, and we know that the Canucks penalty kill has been terrific as well. It could very well be put to the test, although the Devils would like to have Jack Hughes in their lineup on their power play. And not that I don't think this is going to factor into it, but remember what the Devils did to the Canucks here in Vancouver on October 30th. Scored in the first minute of play and skated circles around them, 6-0. That was a Shilov start, and that was a one-sided contest, obviously. And it's funny, as I was looking back at that game, that was just the 2nd regulation loss for the Vancouver Canucks, 9 games into the season. They got off to a decent start, but have kind of leveled off, obviously, and offense was a problem that night, and offense has been a problem on a lot of nights for the Vancouver Canucks. They got 3 on the road here, but it wasn't enough to get them to overtime, and as Tocchet said, that was the backbreaker. Brock Besser scores, ties the game at 3, under 5 minutes to go, and you're thinking, okay, hasn't been pretty, but whatever, every point matters, and they were 5 minutes away from getting another game to overtime, and couldn't do it. So give up a couple late ones, lose by a score of 5-3, lose a couple of players. Tough afternoon all around for the Vancouver Canucks. There are a dozen games to go, Irf, into the final 12 now for the Vancouver Canucks. Next up, Jersey on Monday on Prime.
Yeah,
you can note
Prime
that
game.
as well. 4th and final Prime game. So you're going to have to go look for the game. Don't have to look for us. We'll be here in our usual spot. But, the game won't be on cable television the way that you've become used to. So, hey, it is the digital age. Prime's done a nice job broadcasting games this year, and this will be the 4th and final one that the Canucks play on Amazon Prime this season. All right, mystifying game, hard to describe. I mean, we spent an hour talking about it, but at the end, it's a loss, unfortunately, for the Vancouver Canucks, and pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and we'll see who's available to Rick Tocchet for the Monday game across the river in Jersey. All right, our thanks to Jacob coming in early on a Saturday, working hard, putting the show on the stream, and you're back with me on Monday.
Yes, sir.
So let's see what Monday offers. The next game for the Vancouver Canucks, who fall 5-3 to the New York Rangers. If you don't already, give us a follow on our socials. If you're watching on the live stream, you can see all the channels there. Take your pick or complete the set. Hit them all. Follow us on all of the socials and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss any original content. Even when the season is done, we'll be pushing out content on that YouTube channel. So hit the subscribe button there to make sure that you're set up so that you don't miss any original content from us here at Rink Wide. All right, that is going to do it. Final score again, 5-3 Rangers over the Vancouver Canucks. JT Miller gets the last laugh here. The Rangers sweep the Vancouver Canucks in their 2-game regular season series. For Irf, I'm Jeff. Thanks so much for spending a little bit of your Saturday with us here on Rink Wide Vancouver.